We'll do a pause in between. Kumlen Lablat Gemara. We are up to Masech Kesuvos Daf Amud Gimel Amud Aleph. This is the Gemara for Monday. So we learned, we had the whole Gemara started with a contradiction in Al Mishnah and the Mishnah in Makkas. In Al Mishnah, it says that having forced relations with your sister and all those things you have to pay monetary payments. There's no Kamla with the Rabbinah because there's only Karis involved. But the Mishnah in Makkas says you get Malkus. So how can we explain those two? So according to Ula's explanation, whenever there's a two punishment, Malkus and money, you always give the punishment of money. Why in our Mishnah does it, and that's our Mishnah, why Makkas, there's no money involved, and only Makkas is because the girl's over 12 and a half years old. She's no longer a Naira. That's how Ula explained it. Rabbi Yechon holds whenever there's Malkus and money, you always get Malkus. That's the Gemara there. But over here, talking about a case where, let's say there's no warning or something, so there's no Malkus, that's why in our Mishnah you pay money. So now the Gemara will give a third explanation. Actually, sorry, we jumped a little bit ahead. And then we start talking about that everyone agrees that by Eidin Zaymin and by Chabola, you actually pay money and not Malkus. Either because that's a general rule or because those are exceptions. Says that because the traders explain that you have to pay money, as we said in the Gemara yesterday. Says the Gemara, a third reason why by Eidin Zaymin you pay money comes along in Abba Lezer, right in the middle of the page on Gimel Amud Aleph, about 15 lines on top of the page. Abba Lezer says, Eidin Zaymin, they only pay money and they don't get lashes. In order to receive lashes, you have to be warned. And it's not possible to warn Eidin Zaymin. When they come to court to testify, do we know they're going to lie? So what are you going to tell them and how and when are you going to tell them? Omar Rava says, and he explains exactly in logic why that's so. Tate, I'll prove it. When are you going to warn them? Needs to be caught if you warn them first, let's say yesterday or whatever, a long time before. Amli, they'll say, Ishpling, we forgot. Nisru b'shas ma'aseh, you warn them right as they're about to open their mouths and testify. We warn them, you should know that if you're going to say anything wrong, you're going to get punished and so on and so forth. Then they say, partial misa, what do I need this headache for? I'm going to walk away. What happens to other witnesses come along and they make up a story? And why should I put my life on the line? It's very intimidating. So they'll walk away. We want to encourage witnesses, not discourage. So what? After they testify, we'll give a sorrow then. What's the point? It's too late already. Witnesses, once they give testimony, they can't change their mind. You can no longer change your mind. So what's the point of giving a warning now? So that's what. So Rabbi says in logic, it makes sense that you cannot give them a warning. If there's no warning, there's no malchus. No malchus, you pay money. Maskal Abaye comes along and asks a question. Now the case already asked, isn't this hasra suffix? If we warn them before they testify, do we know they're going to do an avera? Do we know nothing? So it's only a doubt. And according to one opinion, hasra suffix, lo yishme hasra. If you give a hasra and you're not sure the guy will do avera, there's no hasra here. So Tais explains that in this case, it's not really suffix. We might not know, but the witnesses, they know what their plan is. They know if they're about to lie or not. Therefore, that's not called hasra suffix. Hasra suffix is that even that person, we warn that person, don't do something. That person himself doesn't think he'll end up doing it. So therefore, that's a suffix. At the time, he didn't know, we didn't know that avera will happen. Anyway, and now also Tais introduces here an idea that Teich Kedibur doesn't mean literally Teich Kedibur from his testimony, because as we'll see in a minute, Maskal Bayi V'Nisru, why don't we have Hasra but Teich Kedibur? As soon as he finishes giving his testimony, warn him straight away. Now, even though the warning itself, Teich Kedibur is the words Shalom Aleichem Rebbe, or some say Shalom Aleichem Rebbe Marty. That's instantaneous. But so, and then if he changes his mind, whatever, how can that be Teich Kedibur? So Teich Kedibur means generally from this, as long as you're talking about the subject matter, it's considered Teich Kedibur, as we'll have in more Makkas. So the question is, they could change their mind, give them a warning after the testimony straight away, immediately, and they could change their mind. And if they don't, then the warning is a valid warning. And if they do, then they recant it on their testimony, not a problem. That's question number one. Question number two. What? Give them a warning that morning. When they come testify, a few hours later, just give them a wink. So they'll remember what you said, but it won't be so intimidating because it doesn't tell them right now on the spot. However, then Abaye changed his mind. He said, I was wrong. You're right. you don't have to give hasra for Eidim Zaymin, and therefore there's no lashes. Why? Because a brilliant thing Abai says. Because if you're going to think that Eidim Zaymin zich hasra, in order to give lashes to Eidim Zaymin, you first have to warn them. If that's what you think, we're Lama Gimel and Aleph, about 20 lines at the bottom of the page. If Eidim Zaymin do require a warning, then he says a brilliant thing. What's the whole of Eidim Zaymin? Exactly what they wanted to do to this innocent victim, let's do to them. But if they need a warning, and the innocent victim never had a warning because he never did an avera. In fact, he was innocent. So where's the kashazama? Kashazama means exactly what you wanted to do to your victim, we're going to do to you. Precisely. And since they didn't have a warning, then you don't have a warning either. If you're going to tell me that if you don't give them a warning, you don't kill them, how is it possible? They wanted to kill this innocent person without any warning because he actually didn't commit a crime. But to punish, in order to punish the Eidim Zaymin, bo hasra, you have to warn them. So therefore, we need we have to do precisely what they wanted to do to the innocent victim. The lekin doesn't happen. Okay, so the Abaye therefore says, of course, Eidim Zaymin don't require a warning. So ask the Gemara. Maskiv lo Rav Samba Bered Rav Yimna according to this. So Ben Grusha and the whole basically because it's Kashazama. Now we know the beginning of our Makkos we learned that there's certain cases in Zaymin which we punish the witnesses, but not because Kashazama. We, for example, in the first mission of Makkos, the witnesses come along and say that this kohen is a chol, his mother was a divorcee. Turned out to be they were liars. We punish them. Now, where's the Kashazama? The punishment is to give them lashes. That's not what they wanted to do to the kohen. They wanted to turn him into a apostle of kohen, disqualified kohen, and instead we're punishing them with lashes. There's no Kashazama here. Where's the punishment coming from? It comes from the pasuk where you've been, if you understand whatever it is, and so therefore, if in that case we should require a warning. Since it's not coming from Kashazamam, let's require a warning in the first mission of their Makkahs. If they come in and they're testifying about the qualification of this kohen, we should warn them right then and there. Otherwise, we shouldn't punish them at all. So the Gemara, in the case of Ben Grush said, because a warning. And so the Abaye, the more answers, it says in the pasuk, it's written, Mishpat Echad Yilachem. I want that all the laws should be exactly the same. And because all the laws should be the same, the majority of cases is where you learn from Kashazama. So therefore, even the few cases that we don't learn from Kashazama come under that umbrella. Mishpat the outcome should be the same. You don't need a warning there, you don't need a warning here. Okay, so now we explain why Eidim Zaymin, another reason why Eidim Zaymin you pay money, especially even though normally you should get lashes. But over here there's no lashes. Why no lashes? He said because the Abelazar wanted to say because there's no warning, so there's no lashes. And the Rabbi explains why you cannot give a hasra. It's not possible. So therefore you pay money. And in those few cases you do get lashes from a different pasuk altogether. From Bahayim Bin. Case in the beginning, bracha is actually, Makkah is actually says from Loisana, shouldn't lie. Rav Shisha says that other exceptional case, which is chayvel b'chaved, if you wound your friend, you have to pay 5 different kind of payments, and you don't get lashes there. Why not? Why don't you get lashes there? Especially with the lawyer that you're always supposed to get lashes rather than money. Why? So he says another reason. He said, lucky you pay money, you don't pay lashes. For the following pasuk, it says this is where we learn out the whole concept of 2 men were having a fight, and the one who wanted to land a one blow punch and kill the other guy, but by mistake his punch landed on this woman. So the pasuk says, if there was an accident, if there was no accident and just miscarried, you pay for the kids, the monetary value. But if there was an accident, we were having about a few before. If there was an accident, then nefesh tachas nefesh. And there are 2 ways of learning pshat in this pasuk. One opinion is that if you wanted to kill somebody, even though you killed the other person instead, you're chayiv misa, especially if you're warned, because you wanted to kill. So it says the pasuk, and if asiyah means if the woman dies, then nefesh tachas nefesh, and you die. The other opinion is you have to not only want to kill, you have to want to kill that particular person. So if you landed a blow and you killed someone else, let's say you killed a woman, you're not charged with murder. But so the means, and if the woman dies, then nefesh and nefesh means you pay a monetary compensation. So now we're going to learn according to the way that we're talking about the person dying. Now what that the din is you chayiv misa because you wanted to kill person A, you killed person B, you killed the woman instead, you're chayiv misa for that. So and miscarried. We're talking about a case here. If she would have died, you would be liable for death. Now that she didn't die, you pay for the children. But if she did die, then you will be killed, but you don't pay for the children. Now the Chassid said, what are we talking about? Now, but if she didn't die, then you pay for the children. So that's exactly what's happening here. So, so right now we're learning that according to those Tanaim, I learned that if you try to kill one person, you kill the woman instead, you will be Chai Misa. Now, what's going on here? If you didn't warn him at all, am I Miktel? Why does he get killed? To get killed for murder, you have to be warned. Surely they warned him, but he was about to punch this guy. They warned him, you know, you're about to murder somebody, you can be Chai Misa. Instead, it landed on this woman and killed her. So told by the case, there was Asra. But if he didn't kill the woman, he only wounded her, which then you'll get Malchus. And yet the Torah says you pay money. Now, how do you? Now, but he wasn't warned for Malchus. He was only warned for Misa. So we're going to make an assumption now that if I give you a warning for a severe avera, automatically includes a more lenient avera. So therefore, it's as if I gave you also a warning for them for wounding that other person, and therefore you should get Malchus. And yet the Torah says if she didn't die, you pay money. So we see clearly from here that in this case, by Chabala, even though you deserve to get lashes, you're going to pay money. So this is a unique case. I gave a warning. When you give a warning for death, also it automatically includes giving a blow. If the woman didn't die, but rather she got hurt, then what happens? You pay money, and you don't get the lashes. So masculine Rashi asks a few questions. First of all, how do you know the most of double chum? Who said that if you're included in a stricter thing, automatically you're in a stricter, you're automatically included also a warning for the more lenient punishment? Maybe not so. There's places bring down, some people say, some Rishonim say, and other Rishonim actually say it, even if it doesn't like it, that by Misa you can say, what do you mean? It's possible that the person is prepared to die, but he's not prepared to get wounded. What do you mean? Maybe he's prepared, he says, no, I'm going to murder that guy. I deserve to get killed for that as well. I don't care. Thomas Nafshim Plishtim, as long as my enemy gets killed, that's all that matters. But if all I'm doing, I'm going to hurt him, and the person that 2 days later walks away, and as a result of that, I'm going to get 39 lashes, that I'm not ready to do. Everything has to be commensurate. This is not commensurate. I'm going to be punished through my lashes, and I'm going to hurt him a little bit. That's not good enough. So maybe I'm prepared to accept it. I don't care. But who said I'm prepared to accept lashes? Maybe that's why the Hasra does not include lashes. That's question number one. Question number two, and even want to say that a stricter punishment is worse than a lenient. How do you know which is stricter, death or pain? What's worse? Who told you that death is worse? Maybe lashes even worse. How do I know? Well, why would I think the lashes is worse? Lash, at least tomorrow you can recover. Death, it's all over. Because Rav said, the children, they don't bow down. If they would have rather beaten them, they might have bowed down to the statues. They might bow down to the Avodah Zarah. Teisha says it's unbelievable when they would bow down to the Avodah Zarah. It means because the statue was not really Avodah Zarah, but people looked at it, it looked like Avodah Zarah. So for that, they wouldn't have to be Ma'aser Nefesh. They would have said, you know what, we can't handle the pain. So pain is much worse than death. So who told you that death is a more stricter punishment? Your question doesn't make sense. But on the other side of somebody, Ravashi's own son of Samad said to Ravashi, your question about Hanani Mishov Azaya is not definitely death is worse than lashes. Hanani Mishov Azaya. Don't you find the difference between Hakoshi Yeshla Kitsu with 39 lashes, which you can see the end in sight. You can count down to 39, then it's all over. The Hakoshi Ainla Kitsu to hurting somebody with no end. They're going to keep on beating Hanani Mishov Azaya mercilessly until they actually worship that idol, the process of the idol. So that's why they couldn't handle it. So, but really, death is much worse. Maskel, Rabbi Yaakov, and then another question. Rabbi Yaakov and the Hapkoid said, let's say you're right. This whole limit that you said is talking about the word lashes and yet you pay money. So you always say Chabol is different. That only makes sense if you follow the opinion that says that if you kill the woman, you actually get killed. However, that only makes sense that Rabban Amri say Nefesh Mamish means that you get killed for killing a woman, because as long as you wanted to kill, intended to kill, even though you killed the wrong person, it doesn't matter. Rebbe says if you intended to kill one person, a man, and you said you killed a woman, you're not liable for murder. And when it says Nefesh, Tachat Nefesh means literally pay money. So there's no warning here at all. Money you don't have to warn. So where's your exception? How do you know that here you pay money rather than lashes? How do you know when there's lashes involved? How do you know you pay money? I'll give you another posse to learn out why Chabol is an exception, that even though there are lashes, instead you'll pay money from somewhere else. And we're going to ask on him the same questions that were asked us now on the other mic, and just follow. Says the pasuk that Im Yaakov, if you beat someone, and then it says Im Yaakov, if a guy stands up, he's halbachutz and walks outside, al mish anta in his own strength, and then the is v'nike hamak, that the person who perpetrated the crime is innocent, and he goes on. Now, the chisala daitach shezem halbachutz. I need a pasuk to tell you that the guy is able to walk the next day, but everything's all right. He recovers quickly. That you're innocent. That you don't get murdered. That you don't get punished. Obviously, you don't, because the other guy is walking around. Why should I be killed for hurting somebody temporarily? What it means is we put you in prison, we incarcerate you. We put you in prison, and these are the few exceptions we have prison here. It's like a holding pen to see what the results are. If that person, we wait a day or two. If that person dies, then you'll be charged with murder. If not, the person goes out. Now, the only way you can be charged with murder is if you're warned. So there must have been lashes here. If he doesn't die, then what do? You pay money. Now, you're warned and so on. Why don't you get lashes? Now, you're warned for mistake. You're warned that you might murder this person. Okay, but if you're warning for a stricter punishment, it's as if you're warned for include automatically the more lenient one, lashes. So there's a case here of wounding somebody, you deserve lashes, and yet the Torah says clearly you pay money. So it's a proof that when it comes to wounding somebody, it's money, not lashes. Hey, what are we talking about? Either last we didn't give any warning, and my mikvah was get killed. The asma you did give him a warning. Logic says that if you're warned for a stricter punishment, surely includes a more lenient one. And yet, Torah says even though you gave a warning, if the person didn't die and you deserve lashes, don't worry about it. Pay. Shifta yitin v'rapa yira. You should pay that person compensation. So that proves that here's an exception. Says the Gemara, first of all, how do you know the same question before? Who told you that automatically includes it? Maybe it's not true. Maybe each Avera you have to give a warning separately, number one. Each level of punishment. The even want to argue that it automatically includes it. Who told you which is the more severe punishment? The more severe. The Rav said, had they beaten them instead, they would have broken eventually. Let Rav Sama b'Rav Ashi, let Rav Ashi, Rav Sama, the son of Ashi, says Rav Ashi. Or V'Amri Rav Sama b'Rav Ashi, Rav Ashi, his father. Isn't there a difference between Hakol sheyesh l'kitzur, lahakol she'ein l'kitzur? You cannot compare the two, and therefore it's a good place to learn that by Chabal is an exception. You pay money rather than get lashes. Here I have a strong question. Who told you we're talking about a case of here where you deliberately killed somebody and therefore you needed a warning before we charge you with murder? Maybe the reason why you're in a holding pen is you killed somebody by mistake. And if you killed somebody by mistake and he dies, you have to go to Golos. You have to go to the Ari Mikvah, the city of refuge. So we put you in a holding pen to decide if the person dies, go to the city of refuge. If he doesn't, you're free. So therefore, nothing to do with lashes or warnings or anything. Master and body. How do you know the mazid, the nika miktola? Who told you we're talking about a case of mazid? We're holding a pen to see whether the guy deserves to be charged with murder or not. Deal with the shaygig. Maybe we're talking about a case of shaygig. The nika migolos, and all it is whether you have to go to exile, whether you have to go to those cities or not. Kasha, it's a problem. Now the obvious question is, we already had in Mary Mums as well. How can you go to Golos if you put in the holding pen for a couple of days and then that person dies? Remember, we learned that there were other factors that caused the person's death. So we literally Mary Mums that's talking about you were inside a room, the wind couldn't get in. You're inside a room and there was marble walls and there's no window or anything else. So therefore, it must be that is whatever act you committed, that's what caused the person's death, that victim, and therefore that's the case that we are talking about. Anyhow, the Shlokish Omar, going back to the original contradiction we have between the Mishnah here and the Mishnah Makkos, why there it says you get Malkus and here it says you pay money. And we had Ula, Rabbi Yechon, gave different explanations, comes along Shlokish and he says, no, I'll tell you exactly what's going on. The author of Mishnah Meir. And I may actually hold that like a mishalom. I may hold you do get both punishments, because we learned before that the Aiden Zayman come in and they say that this person $100 and turn out to be the liars. They get lashes because they lied, and they get paid the money, and because the May doesn't hold a common with the rabbin in that case, and he holds a what? You get both punishments. What's the problem? Our Mishnah, you get malchus, you pay, and the Makkos you get malchus, and they're both right. So the Gemara can't be that Meir. Why not? Eat Meir, because the next Mishnah that we haven't learned yet, there it says, but if let's say you force yourself on your daughter, with there you will get punished in this world. It's not just chorus, you actually get punished. Then we say come the b'drabane and you don't have to pay. But if the Mishnah Meir, then over there also you'd have to pay. So what if you get killed for your daughter? You have to pay. Eat Meir, I feel a bit not me, even your daughter also, you should have to pay. Why does the Mishnah say you don't pay? Because it comes the b'drabane. Now, there's an obvious answer. There's a difference between Malkus and Misa. We can say when it comes to Malkus, Rameir says there's no common with Rabbanah. You'll get lashes and you get money. But when it comes to Misa, the next Mishnah talks about where you get a capital punishment. Then we will use the rule of a common with Rabbanah, because where do we learn that common Rabbanah? From murder, from the case where he landed a punch on this woman and killed her. Then you don't pay for the children. If she didn't die, then you pay for the children. That's talking about murder. So murder, we say common rabbinate, but not by lashes. So that's how we can reconcile the two missions, and maybe the Shlakish is right. So the Gemara, you can tell me that may like Mishal Nisli holds by like by Malkus and Mishal, he says common rabbinate. Or by Mes Mishal Leslie, but Mes Mishal there's no common rabbinate. The life, but not so. That's a question. But Tanya, we look at the Braisa. What happens? The din is if you steal something and you get caught, you got to pay double. If you're a ganif, you got to pay double. If you stole an animal, a cow or a sheep, then it depends if you pay 4 or 5 times. Right? For sheep, you pay 4 times. For a cow, you pay 5 times. If you sold it or you shechted it, then you pay those multiple times. So what happens if gonaf the tovach b'Shabbos? You stole the animal and you shechted on Shabbos. Shechting on Shabbos is one of the malachas. For that, you'll get killed. Do you pay the 4 or 5 times now or not? Or case number 2, gonaf, you stole it, the tovach is shechtel avodah zarah, and for that you get killed. And again, do you pay compensation or not? Or gonav shoyed haniskal, you stole a shoyed haniskal animal that was sentenced to be put to death because it killed a person. And v'tvach and you shechted it. So over here, the animal becomes, the moment the bezin sentences, it becomes asa b'hana. You're not going to have any benefit from it. It's actually the Bein Tam holds only after you shecht it, after you kill it. But that's another story. Is mishalem? Everyone asks for this Maria. Is mishalem tashlumi above chamisha? You pay 4 or 5 times your mayor. It clearly says that even though you're going to be put to death for shechting on Shabbos, you still have to pay money. So we see clearly that mayor does not believe in the entire concept of kamla b'drabbanei, even when it comes to the case of death. So if our Mishnah's authors are mayor, then explain the next Mishnah why the next Mishnah says by you force yourself on your daughter where you're chai misa, you don't have to pay money anymore. According to mayor, you should. And the chacham are the ones that pot. Say, that's not a question. Each when Allah didn't we learn Amar Rabbi Yaakov B'Yechon Ram Lot Hashem Rabbi Yimem Shimon Yishaki that even said name Shimon Laki Rabbi Ovid Rabbi Loi V'Chol Chavru said Rabbi Ovid Rabbi Loi and his all the entire group. Mashmeid Rabbi Yechon Amri. They say I'll explain to you why over here you actually pay money. Even though the chayda is chayv misa, because the person who is obligated, who is liable for death, is not the same person who will pay the money. How's that possible? You sent a shliach, you sent the proxy to go ahead and shech the animal that you stole. And because there are a few exceptions, even though generally we say ain't shliach dvar veda, you can't have a shliach for an aveda. But in this case, an exception, there is a shliach dvar veda. So therefore, the shliach will be put to death for doing it on Shabbos, but you pay the money because he worked for you. So b'tavech haydeiachad, you shech it for somebody else. So you want to ask first of all the chizeh chayte v'zem es chayv. Where do you find ain't shliach dvar veda? Why? What you have to pay the 4 or 5 times? So we have 3 different limudim. We'll have this about Kam Meruba. Rava says, Omar Achman, the Torah said, Tavacha, you shechted, oy machre, or you sold it. So we darshan. We're comparing shechting to selling. In order to sell something, you need a third party, because otherwise, who are you selling it to? So too, when it comes to shechting, it could even be done through a third party, through a proxy, and you're liable. To somebody else. You're liable. You got to pay the 4 or 5 times. But I'm not liable for Shabbos. For Shabbos, ain't shlich dvar veda. He did the malach on Shabbos. He's responsible. The way that he learns, how do you know that there's shlich dvar veda when it comes to the shechting and the 4 or 5 times? Oy le rabbi, the word oy comes to include a shlich. The chizkitana tachas, the word tachas. It's because it says the word tachas. It says you should pay 5 bakar tachas hashoyer and 4 tachas haseh. So we learn the word tachas means somebody as a substitute. Tach means substitute. You or your substitute. The rabbi says the shlich, include a shlich. So what are we saying here? Rameir, yes, it's right, that distinction. When it comes to Malkus, Rameir says there's no common Rabbanei, therefore Makkos and Al Gemara are corrected. Both punishments happen. The next Mishnah is Mace Rameir agrees, Kamle with Rabbanei. What about the case of stealing the animal? There a shliach did it for you. Maskel, Mazutra says, I don't understand. So you're telling me if I would have, if the sender would have shechted the animal on Shabbos, Kamle with Rabbanei, he doesn't have to pay the money. And now that you got a shliach to do it, I have to pay the money. Where do you find that a shliach is more powerful than the sender himself? He would have shechted the animal himself, the one who stole it, he wouldn't be obligated to pay because common rabbinate. And but shliach made a shliach, and you have to pay. So right now the Gemara thinks that common rabbinate means since there are 2 punishments, we cannot give you both. We're going to excuse the punishment of money. We're going to pardon you for money and only pay this, which means I don't have to pay money. So how could it be that my shliach is going to make me pay money? Says the Gemara, you totally misunderstood Kamad Rabbane. It's not the pshat that you don't have to pay the money. The pshat is you have to pay the money, but either we cannot force two punishments, or because the stricter punishment includes the more lenient punishment. Not because he's not chayiv to pay the 4 or 5 times. It's Kamad Rabbane. Therefore, he has to pay. And it says the Gemara, so now therefore we understand. Rameir agrees when it comes to death. He do say Kamad Rabbane. The case of shechting is talking about a shliach did the shechting on your behalf, and therefore he gets killed, you pay the money. Says if that's the case, then why in the world do the Rabbanon say that you are potter? So the Gemara says, remember, Chacham say potter. There's no Kamad Rabbane. Why would the Chacham say potter? So the Gemara, my time by the Rabbanon. Why would the Rabbanon say potter? So my answer is Man Chachami. You know who when it says Chacham, you know who they are? That's Rav Shimoni, and so on. This has nothing to do with Kamad Rabbane. The Gemara we had in a few places already, and Rav Shimoni so we'll have in Meruba and other places. Rav Shimoni holds that if you shecht a shchita that is not suitable, it's not considered shchita. For example, we learned the chulin about oiser is b'nai. You cannot shecht the mother and the baby calf the same day. But if you shechted the mother, it turned out to be treif. So it's not a proper shchita. Then if you shech the baby calf, you're not liable for oises b'nai. He holds as a rule, a shchita she'eino ruya, if it's not a suitable, doesn't prepare it to eating, it's not called shchita at all. So that's what's going on here. Since it happened on Shabbos, it's not a shchita ruah, and that's why he doesn't pay. The Chacham say nothing will come with the Rabbane here. It's because it's a shchita she'eino ruya. He did it on Shabbos. It's not called shchita. So the hot it makes sense. Okay, you shut away the zara, you're not allowed to eat anymore. So the shchita is not valid. It didn't prepare you for eating. So too sure in Iskal. It's also about no. The moment you shechted it, and even before according to most the poskim, it's already also about no. You cannot eat. So the shchita didn't benefit. El shchita Shabbos. Shchita, the fact is on Shabbos, it's a proper shchita.